I'm here to review some gear. Now, I got an email communication this week, and it was from a manufacturer of fine products. And they said, "Wow, Dan Mars, your YouTube channel has over 700 subscribers. How would you like to do a review of one of our products?" And I said yes, right? I said, actually, you wouldn't believe it, but one of my goals in life is to actually become like a YouTube reviewer, influencer. So I'm still waiting to get their first product, but I thought in the meantime, what I could do is practice doing some product reviews. So this is my first one. I should say right out of the gate that no one is paying me. I'm not getting any free stuff. Well, I hope they give me something for free, but I don't have it yet. So anything I say here is just my own opinion. Okay. So I thought it'd be cool to review the Comandante Comandante C60. So if you don't know this company, they made and still make what is the gold standard of hand grinders for coffee. And the C60 here, also known as the Baracuda, represents the next evolution or the heavier version of the C40. And of course, with any good product review, it's good to compare it against something. So I chose the new Leica M11-P Safari edition. Let's start with price. The Baracuda C60 comes in between $600 and $700 US. The Leica M11-P Safari, also known as Sapphire, comes in around $10,000 to $11,000 US. But here's the catch. You don't buy these things in isolation. You're going to buy some accessories to go with it. So with the Baracuda, you might buy some coffee, maybe some specialty coffee. You might buy a coffee filter, a coffee pot, and you might need a roaster, right? And roasters can run up to 6 figures after installation. And on the Leica side, right, you are probably going to buy a 35mm apochromatic lens for $10,000. You might buy a strap, right? So these things, it's hard to put a price on them. So I would actually say it's best to just ignore the price of both of these things. So what about the weight? Well, the C60 Baracuda comes in a little over 1,000 grams, and that's before you've added coffee. The Leica here, as shown, is going to be about 650 grams for the camera with a memory card and a battery, but then probably another additional 300 to 400 grams depending on your lens. So it also falls into that kilogram territory, making them again, basically the same. Now, it's a little bit harder to quantify, right? But what about the wow factor? So with the C60 Baracuda, right, you walk into like a cupping party or a coffee shop, right? If you walk up to order coffee with one of these, either on your hand or around your neck, people are going to say, wow, wow, this person really knows how to taste coffee. And with the Leica Safari, right, again, if you walk into a coffee shop with one of these around your neck and you order a coffee, they're going to think, wow, this person really knows how to taste coffee. So again, sort of that wow factor, like it's kind of a neck and neck race here. Now I also wanted to put them right like up to a difficult task, right? So how do they handle geishas? So I found that the Barracuda works best with Panama geishas, and the Leica Safari works best with like Japanese geishas. So at this point, I would actually say this is like their biggest difference. Now, in terms of bean capacity, the Barracuda can, right, you can get about 40, almost 50 grams of coffee, depending on, right, the roast. Right, darker roast is going to be a bigger bean, lighter beans. You can get more light roast in there, right? The and you can always like add more, right? The Leica, it I found that I could only get, mostly in the battery compartment, I could get about 18, maybe 19 grams of coffee. Now if I ground it, I could get maybe 22. Right, and then in terms of like dosing into right, either an AeroPress or a V60, right, the Barracuda was right, the cup that comes with it is actually perfect for dumping right into the V60 or into right, for your espresso machine, whatever you're using. The Safari, I found it was good at dosing into the V60, but with espresso it did get a little messy. Now, one of the big advantages of the Barracuda over the Safari is that the Barracuda does not require a battery, right? That's sort of the whole thing around hand grinders. Um, the Safari, it does need a battery, so just be prepared for that. Something you might, think about. And then again, sort of another thing they have in common is that they both come from companies that are committed to the future of their product, to continue to update them and to serve, right, their customers. So with the C60, right, in the future you might get, right, if you need an even bigger handle, or if you need another jar, or if you need the click system. Some people like the single, double. They might even make a triple click or quadruple click system. And then on the Leica side, right, they're good about firmware updates to address their defects. And while I'm here and I can see it, the Safari will come with a serial number, and I don't think that the Barracuda, right, I don't think it has a serial number, so that could be an important thing choosing one over the other? And I'm just trying to think about other major differences. Is there anything I forgot to mention here? I guess, they both come in different versions, right? The Baracuda has a few different versions. And the M11 Safari P, nope, that's the only edition. So what's my final verdict? Well, if you were thinking about either of these products, this might surprise you, but what I would say in regards to both of them is slow down, cowboy. The gunfight isn't starting without you. Now, what I mean here, right? Well, let's start with the Baracuda. Right, the Baracuda was meant to solve sort of the two biggest complaints about the C40. That the C40 was not great for dialing in espresso, and it was a little bit slow. The C60 comes along, and it's a better answer to both of those problems, but it is more than twice as much as its predecessor. And I would say, slow down your life, 20 seconds, 40 seconds, whatever, and come on, espresso with a hand grinder. So my recommendation is actually to not buy the C60, but to save your money and to just buy what is the gold standard, the C40. And then I'd take that $350 of savings and I'd go to the Leica store and I would not buy the Safari. Instead, I would look behind it. You see that camera? That's the one you actually want. Now, they're hard to find, so you're probably going to have to watch auctions. But here is one that went unsold. And the starting price was only $45,000. Now, if that's too much, you can, and this is actually my recommendation, is to watch for one that has been repainted Safari or olive. And here's one that for about $1,750 US, somebody snagged it, technically in excellent condition. So now collectively you're sitting around 2,000 USD. You got the better grinder and the better camera. See? Good review, huh? Right, take care.